This is the end of today's mathematics class. Tomorrow is the day when the Immortal Gate comes to our town to test the spiritual roots. The teacher hopes that you all have spiritual roots. In a simple classroom, a middle-aged man who looks to be in his 40s and 50s is teaching a group of 5 or 6-year-old children. This man who looks like a middle-aged man is named Li Xiaojun, who is 25 years old this year. 25 years ago, Li Xiaojun traveled to this world and became a baby and awakened the Tadpole Enhancement System. Strengthening the system sounds amazing, but it's a waste. It consumes 10 years of life and can strengthen a tadpole. As a time traveler, Li Xiaojun thought she would be the protagonist, and then she went against the will of heaven. However, when he was 6 years old, the biggest setback in his life came. The immortal sect test showed that he did not have the spiritual roots to cultivate immortals. There is no spiritual root in the world of immortal cultivation, which means that he can only be an ordinary person in his life. Although there is a system, the system is too wasteful. Under such circumstances, Li Xiaojun was so stupid that he chose to be an ordinary person. He went to school at the age of 6, took the exam for the child at the age of 16, got married at the age of 18, and got a daughter at the age of 19. At the age of 20, he passed the exam for scholars, but then he failed the college entrance examination twice. When he was 21 years old, his wife gave birth to him another daughter. 2 daughters consumed his lifespan of 20 years. When he was 24 years old, his frail wife died of illness, which was a big blow to him. At the age of 25, he gave up the college entrance examination, transformed a room at home as a classroom, and then became a primary school teacher. Before, Li Xiaojun thought that with his identity as a time traveler, it should be very simple to take the imperial examination, but reality slapped him in the face. Now that he is lying down, he is going to raise his 2 daughters and then live his life in a dull manner. Daddy, I'm hungry. As soon as school was over, after all the students left, the youngest daughter shouted about hunger. Be good at Feifei, Dad will cook for you right away. Hearing the call of the little cotton jacket, Li Xiaojun showed a heartwarming smile on her face. Dad, I'll help you with fire. At this time, the eldest daughter smiled and came forward to help. Ting is so good. Li Xiaojun smiled and touched her eldest daughter's head. Li Xiaojun's 2 daughters, Li Yuding, the eldest daughter, is 6 years old this year, and the younger daughter, Li Yufei, is 4 years old this year. The 2 daughters have been very smart since childhood, especially the eldest daughter Li Yuding, who followed Li Xiaojun to learn and read at the age of 2. At the age of 6, she has already learned the 6th grade knowledge of Earth Primary School, and even the junior high school students have finished learning mathematics. It is worthy of being a child born after spending 10 years of life strengthening tadpoles. Although my youngest daughter is not as good as my sister, she has started studying and literacy at the age of 2.5. She has just finished the 4th grade of elementary school. The next day, the entire Honghe town was decorated with lights and colors. Today is not a festival, but because today is the day when the immortal sect detects spiritual roots and accepts disciples. Every year on the 6th of June, the immortal sect will send people to various towns to test the spiritual roots for 6-year-old children, and accept children with spiritual roots. Every year on this day, Honghe town will be decorated with lights and colors, waiting for the arrival of the immortal masters. This year is naturally no exception. Honghe town has started preparing 2 days in advance. Because today is the day to test the spiritual roots, Li Xiaojun gave all the students a vacation. Li Xiaojun woke up early in the morning. While his 2 daughters were still asleep, he got up and made a fire to cook. After the meal is ready, I ask my daughter to have a meal, dress my younger daughter, etc. After working hard for a long time, the whole family finished their breakfast. The eldest daughter Li Yuding is already 6 years old this year, so she will also participate in this year's spiritual root test. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Li Xiaojun put on beautiful little skirts on both of her daughters, then carried her little daughter on her back and led her eldest daughter to the square in the center of the town. Mr. Li. Hello, Mr. Li. At this time, there were already many children and parents in the town center square. In addition, there are many people watching the fun. Li Xiaojun is a scholar and a gentleman from the town, so after he arrived at the square, many people greeted him enthusiastically. The Immortal Master is here. At 10 o'clock in the morning, accompanied by a stream of light, a flying boat-like thing stopped in the central square of Honghe town. On the flying boat, there were several young men and women who looked in their 20s, and in addition to that, some children in their 5 or 6 years old were standing. These children should be children with spiritual roots collected by the Immortal Masters from other places. Children who are of the same age come to test the spirit roots, and we will rush to the next place after the test. A young man jumped out of the boat quickly and gave instructions to everyone. Everyone is familiar with the process of spiritual root detection. After all, there is a spiritual root detection ceremony every year. Honghe town has already organized it, and the children who need to test the spiritual roots have also lined up. The test can be started as soon as the Immortal Master arrives. After the young man jumped off the boat, the test began quickly. The talent for detection is a crystal ball-like thing, as big as a basketball. Children only need to put their hands on the crystal ball, and then the Immortal Master plays a magic trick to detect what talent the child has. You don't have spiritual roots. Go down. You don't have spiritual roots either. You don't. Today, there were more than 100 children participating in the Lingzhen test in Honghe town. One child after another put his hands on the crystal ball, but what he encountered was the cold words from the Immortal Master. Some children suddenly burst into tears when they heard that they had no spiritual roots. However, their parents quickly covered their mouths and took them away, for fear that the child would cry and make the Immortal Master unhappy. The detection speed of spiritual roots is very fast, and the test of dozens of children is over. Dozens of children were tested in a row, all of whom had no spiritual roots, which made many people look a little unfair. It was not until the 56th child that the crystal ball that detected the spiritual roots finally emitted a faint yellow light. Still, the lower spiritual roots of the Earth system stand here. Seeing that the spiritual root was finally detected, the Immortal Master's face also relaxed a little. This is a little boy. He immediately grinned when he heard that he had spiritual roots. And his parents looked surprised. Next. After pulling the little boy behind him and standing, the Immortal Master began to continue testing the next child. No spiritual roots, the next one. There is still no spiritual roots, next one. Next. Next. The test continued, and more than 90 children were detected in a blink of an eye. Except for the child with lower spiritual roots just now, none of the other children have spiritual roots. Under such circumstances, the parents of children whose spiritual roots were not detected were very disappointed. Parents of children who have not yet begun to detect spiritual roots are very nervous. At this time, among the parents of the very nervous child, Li Xiaojun is. As time passes, it will soon be the turn of eldest daughter Li Yuding to detect spiritual roots, so Li Xiaojun's heart is even more touching. Next. Accompanied by the call of the Immortal Master, the person who detected the spiritual roots was finally the turn of Li Xiaojun's daughter Li Yuding. Li Yuding came to the Immortal Master with some anxiety, and then, like the previous child, put his hand on the crystal ball obediently. The Immortal Master entered a spiritual excuse into the crystal ball. The next moment, the crystal ball emitted a green light. At first, the green light was still very light, but soon, the green light became more and more prosperous, and in a few seconds, the green light had reached a very dazzling level. Seeing this situation, the people around were shocked. The Immortal Master who tested talent showed a look of surprise. At this time, several other Immortal Masters on the flying boat also showed a look of surprise when they saw this situation. The next moment, several Immortal Masters jumped off the flying boat at the same time. The best with spiritual root is great.